Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking on a concept that is, I think, one of the simplest, but also one of the most powerful in personal development.
It really is.
The idea that, massive success doesn't come from these giant, heroic leaps.
No, not at all. It's all about the tiny daily steps. We're talking about the engine behind Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect.
And for this deep dive, we're looking at a really detailed analysis of the audiobook version, which is interesting in itself.
Yeah, and our sources dig into why this book, this material, is seen as like one of the best blueprints for discipline ever created.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the practical, the zero fluff insights from that analysis for you, the learner.
It's all about consistency over intensity, how you can actually use this mindset for long-term growth.
But we should probably set expectations right at the top.
Definitely. Look, if you're looking for a weekend hack or some 30-day miracle cure, this is not it.
You'll probably be pretty disappointed.
This whole deep dive is about discipline. It's about the long-term mindset and the real structural changes that build success that actually lasts.
Okay, so let's start with the core idea, the thesis. It's so simple on the surface.
The formula, right?
Yes.
Small, consistent actions multiplied over time equals massive success.
Exactly. And everyone sort of nods along to that. They get it intellectually. But then why do so many people, myself included, sometimes fail to actually do it?
Well, because it requires faith in something you can't see yet. And I think what Hardy does so well, what the analysis points out, is he defines the scope of these actions.
What do you mean by scope?
It's not about, setting your New Year's resolutions. It's about the automatic routines, the tiny decisions you make without even thinking. He calls them invisible disciplines.
I love that phrase, invisible disciplines. It suggests the most important work happens when nobody's watching, when it's not even recognized. Like if I choose to read 10 pages instead of scrolling on my phone, the positive effect of that one choice is totally invisible for weeks, maybe months.
Precisely. And the critics emphasize that your life today, your finances, your health, all of it, is just the sum total of those tiny choices you made 6 months ago, the ones that felt totally insignificant.
And that's the struggle, right? The compound curve is almost flat at the beginning.
It is. You put in 100% of the effort, and you see, what, a 0.1% result? That's where almost everyone gives up.
Okay, so that explains the initial friction. Now let's talk about the source material itself, the audiobook experience. Why did the reviewers make such a big deal about the medium?
The narration. It's a huge factor. Hardy narrates it himself.
Oh, okay.
And the sources describe his voice as strong, confident, really motivational. It doesn't feel like someone's just reading a book at you. It feels like, direct mentorship.
And that makes a huge practical difference. I mean, the review said his delivery adds this extra layer of motivation that actually makes you want to do something right now.
Yeah.
Not a book that just sits on a shelf. It's the kind of thing you pause while you're driving just to write something down.
It really is. And it creates this specific listening environment. So if you're listening while you're on a run or driving to work, you're absorbing the ideas while you're already in a routine.
Right. That immediacy makes it feel instantly applicable.
Yeah, it turns it from just, passive listening into active direction.
All right, let's get into the mechanics. The review broke it down into 5 core concepts that explain how this whole thing actually works. Let's start with the first one, the math.
Concept 1. The compound effect principle itself. So we know the positive side. 1% daily improvement leads to exponential growth. But the analysis really focuses on the dark side of it.
The flip side of the coin.
Yeah, the principle of what you could call exponential damage.
So the compounding of tiny mistakes. What kind of examples did the review bring up?
A lot of it is about inertia. It's not, eating one donut. It's about repeatedly choosing that little bit of instant gratification.
Like 5 minutes on social media that turns into 20.
Exactly. Or skipping one small part of your routine, or spending an extra $10 on an impulse buy. By themselves, they're nothing. They're invisible.
But compounded over a year.
They create a massive deficit in your productivity, your health, your bank account. It's the subtlety that gets you. You don't feel the damage until it's already done.
Okay, so if we're constantly fighting against these tiny negative forces, how do we fight back? This has to bring us to concept 2, right? The role of habits.
This is where that famous mantra comes from. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits.
That's a powerful one.
The sources really hit this point hard. Effort is unreliable. Goals are good, but they're unreliable. Only your systems, your habits are there for you day in and day out.
So it's about shifting your focus away from some big shiny goal and onto just Your baseline operation.
Your baseline, yeah.
But, I mean, changing habits is the hardest part. Did the review offer any advice on how to do that?
It did. One of the steps that critics really focused on was the need to identify your core values first.
Before you even pick a habit to change.
Exactly. You can't build a meaningful habit if it doesn't align with something you deeply fundamentally value.
Yeah.
The willpower required to sustain a habit that feels irrelevant is it's too high. The compound effect will never get a chance to kick in.
So knowing your why makes the how possible. Okay, let's move to the toughest one. Concept 3. Tracking your behavior. This is where people get excited and then just...
Oh, yeah. Because it feels like homework.
Totally.
But it's non-negotiable. The rule is simple. What gets measured gets improved. But the thing the sources highlight is how aggressively Hardy wants you to track. It's not just, your time and your money.
What else is there?
Your habits, obviously, but also your productivity. And this is the big one, your emotions.
Wait, tracking emotions. How does that connect to, say, financial success?
Because your emotional state dictates those small choices. If you track when you feel stressed or bored or overwhelmed, you start to see a pattern. You see the direct line between that feeling and your worst habits. The impulse spending, the stress eating, the procrastination.
So you're making the invisible triggers visible.
You have to. If you don't, you can't fix them. The analysis suggests just a simple journal or a tracker for 30 days. It takes serious dedication, but it gives you a baseline of the behavior you need to change.
That sounds way more intense than just listing your expenses. It's like applied behavioral science for your own life.
Pretty much.
So once you've done that, the discipline, the tracking, you get to concept 4, momentum, or Big Mo.
This is the good part.
Yeah.
This is the reward zone. Momentum is that state where the discipline stops feeling so much like work and it starts to become self-sustaining.
Right.
The sources compare it to a gyroscope. You have to put in a lot of force to get it spinning really fast, but once it's going, it stays stable with very little effort.
I love that analogy. But when does that actually happen? When does the drudgery end and Big Mo begin?
Well, it varies for everyone, obviously, but the message is that it only kicks in after a sustained, visible commitment. We're talking several months, usually.
So the challenge isn't keeping the momentum going.
No. The challenge is surviving that flat part of the curve before the momentum starts. It's being willing to do hard work for what feels like zero return until the system finally takes over.
Which brings us right back to that motivation problem. Okay, finally, concept 5, environment and association.
Right. It's not just about what you do, it's about where you do it and who you do it with.
The container for your habits.
Absolutely. The book is really clear that your external environment is just as powerful as your internal discipline. The sources break it down into 3 areas.
Let me guess. The people you're with, the information you consume.
And your physical surroundings.
Yep.
The trifecta.
That sounds like a pretty radical call to, clean house. Literally and figuratively.
It is radical, and the review points to Hardy's very strong conclusion on this. He says, choose your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Think about it. If your social circle just reinforces negative habits, the compound effect of their influence will always, always overpower your individual willpower. You have to be aggressive about what you let in.
That level of intensity, especially with tracking and managing your environment, it really raises the bar. So let's synthesize this. What makes this material so valuable, and where are its limits for someone just starting out?
The biggest strength, and you see this in all the critiques, is that it's zero fluff. It is just relentlessly practical.
No wasted time on abstract theory.
None. He just gives you actionable steps you can start doing, today.
And it seems perfect for anyone who struggles with consistency. It breaks down these huge, scary goals into tiny, microscopic steps.
And the real-life examples, which the review mentioned, make it all feel so relatable. It just hammers home that big success is never an accident. It's always the sum of those small choices.
Okay, what about the limitations?
Well, the pacing.
Yeah.
The core message is very simple, consistency, so the book can feel a bit repetitive at times.
But the analysis said that's not a bug, it's a feature.
Exactly. The repetition is reinforcement. It's designed to drill that philosophy into your head until it becomes second nature.
Right. It's the difference between reading a suggestion once and hearing a command until it's automatic. But the biggest limitation, it's also its greatest strength, isn't it?
It is. This is the absolute opposite of a quick hack. It demands real, sustained work and tracking to see any results at all.
So you can't just listen to the audiobook and feel motivated.
Nope. You have to actually do the work. The reward is huge, but the price of admission is high. The sources basically warn that agreeing with the ideas is worthless if your behavior doesn't change.
So if we were to boil this all down, what are the most powerful, quotable takeaways, things that really stick with you?
I think we can pull out 5 key ones that the review really focused on for retention.
Okay, first one. It's maybe the hardest to swallow. Your life today is the result of your past choices. Total self-accountability.
Second, the constant reminder. Consistency is more important than intensity. That daily walk beats the one-off marathon every time.
Third, you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. It's a direct assault on waiting for big moments.
Fourth, and this goes right back to that flat curve we talked about, success is earned in the dark when no one is watching. The internal win has to come way before any external reward.
And finally, the whole thing in one little equation.
The simple formula. Small, smart choices plus consistency plus time is success. And, the analysis gives this a resounding 5 out of 5 rating. It's basically framed as an operating manual for life.
And that high praise is tied directly to the return on investment. The review claimed that if you apply just 10% of this stuff, like just track one critical habit, it can dramatically improve your life within months.
Yeah, your career, finances, health, because that momentum in one area starts to spill over into others.
So who is this for, really?
Well, this deep dive is especially relevant for, I'd say, students, business owners, anyone trying to learn and improve themselves. Really, anyone who wants to build discipline for long-term growth.
And the critics strongly suggest it's something worth re-listening to multiple times a year.
Oh, definitely. As a calibration tool, a tune-up for your personal engine.
Yeah, a tune-up. I like that. And that brings us to our final thought. A provocation based on what I think is the toughest insight here.
The earned in the dark part.
Exactly. Success is earned in the dark when no one is watching. We've established that the compound effect needs months of this invisible work before you see any real results, before Big Mo kicks in.
During which time the outside world gives you zero positive reinforcement.
Right. So my question for you to think about is this. If your effort is invisible and the results are delayed, how do you sustain the motivation to keep going day after day? What specific internal reward system can you create for yourself to bridge that gap?
To survive the dark period.
Exactly. Think about what you reward yourself for today. The input, not the outcome. Until next time, keep diving deep.